Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. Thanks for starting your Sunday here. Coming up on this morning show, the LSU Lakes have gone to the birds. Yes, those wondrous white pelicans are back. But how long will they stay? Where are they flying from? And where will they land next? We'll get those questions and dozens more answered for you on These Wild Birds. And speaking of wild, it's been a wild election week. To get some perspective, we sit down with former Senator John Breaux. He talks candidly about the problems in Washington, the problem with politicians, and where in the world we go from here. Plus, are you a worrier? Dr. Nick is here to help us free ourselves from worry. He shows us how worry is really wrapped up in wounds from the past, how to clean it, and how to transform it. And the Golden Band from Tigerland. They're one of the best in the country. And this morning, you get to be a member. We strap on a GoPro camera to a tuba, and you'll get the sensation of marching down Victory Hill with them. But let's get started with the magnificent American white pelicans. For almost 10 years, they've been coming here to the LSU Lakes, much to the delight of anyone who can catch a glimpse of them. These white pelicans have traveled up to 1,500 miles for their stopover in Baton Rouge. They're migrating from the Great Lakes area and some as far away as Canada. Because there the lakes will freeze and they'll be unable to catch fish. So they travel what's known as the Mississippi Flyway. It's a bird migration route that generally follows the mighty Mississippi River. They choose it because of its vast water and food supply all along their journey. In fact, nearly 40% of all North American migrating waterfowl and shorebirds use this very same route. So you'll see other birds migrating around here too. We're just fortunate to be right in their path. These pelicans will eventually end up mostly along the Gulf Coast, but some will keep flying all the way to Mexico. We're so well known around here for our outstanding cuisine, even the white pelicans know it. They'll stay here in the Baton Rouge and surrounding areas 4 to 6 weeks, gorging on mostly fish, although they also like our crawfish, frogs, and even salamanders. Each pelican will eat up to 4 pounds of fish a day. To get those fish, they don't dive for them like the brown pelican. They work together, mostly in large groups, to herd the fish, and then almost in unison, they thrust their orange bills, which are nearly a foot long, into the water to scoop up their catch. Their pouch or throat sac holds up to 3 gallons of water. You can see here how they hold their heads up to drain out the water, then swallow the fish whole. These white pelicans are some of the largest birds in North America. From a distance, they don't look huge, but get up close and you'll see they really are. They're 4 to 6 feet tall, weighing about 30 pounds. Their wingspan is really impressive, nearly 9 feet. Out here in the wild, they'll live about 16 years, but in captivity, they can double that and live up to 34 years. White pelicans are clumsy on land, but beautiful swimmers and very graceful in flight. Coming in on their final approach, however, is a completely different story. One of my favorite images is watching their big orange webbed feet dangling clumsily about on their way back into the water. They're a gregarious group of birds, staying in flocks of mostly 100 or more. Together, they'll winter along the Gulf Coast 3 to 4 months. If you're lucky and have your eye on the sky, you'll see them flying back home along the Mississippi River around the end of March. They're headed home to start nesting. They don't drop back in around here on their journey home, but how I wish they would. From pelicans to politicians, some say that's for the birds too. Well, love it or hate it, politics permeate nearly every facet of our lives. Coming up, We're going to sit down with former Louisiana Senator John Breaux. He spent 34 years in Washington. He's going to tell us why the system is broken, what we can do to fix it, whether or not you and I can have a hand in it at all. And does he have any aspirations for another future in politics? We'll find out right after this.
We're Cadillac women. I'm a cowgirl, but I like to ride in style.
I'm a broadcasting major, and I want everyone to know that I love my Cadillac SRX.
Always lead to, you can count on Jerry Lane.
You know the best thing about Raising Cane's? Well, we have fresh, never ever frozen 100% premium chicken fingers. We also have extra long crinkle cut fries. Then there's our crisp coleslaw and buttery Texas toast. And of course, you can't forget about our totally craveable cane sauce. But while all those things are definitely tasty, the absolute best thing about Raising Cane's is simple. We don't make it until you're ready to eat it. Raising Cane's, one love.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Zedlitz, board-certified dermatologist, laser specialist, and an expert injector. Not all skin types are the same, so not all treatment should be the same. Are you looking to reduce fine lines and wrinkles? We can do that. Scarring from acne or injuries, or what about stretch marks? Tired of dealing with rosacea or uneven pigmentation? Are you looking to lift or tighten your skin? We can do that too. Come see me and my team of experts here at Z Dermatology.
New location now in Prairieville.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney, everyone. We're sitting down with former U.S. Senator John Breaux this morning. Of course, huge political season. A lot is at stake, and we're going to talk about that and some other things, his life in Washington and where he finds his passion. And I might have a hint as to a little bit of it involves LSU with the shirt on this morning. Great to see you.
Go Tigers.
That's right. Well, how is Washington? I mean, you've been there so many years in different capacities. What's your take on it all now?
Well, most people think Washington is very messed up.
Yeah.
In a certain degree, the politics is really not very conducive to getting anything done. But the city is a monument. The whole city is nothing but monuments to the culture and the history of this country. It's a beautiful city to visit. The museums are great. And, you know, it's the seat of the American political power, so it's always fun to be there.
Yeah, Obama, bad ratings these days. Is it hard to get each side to work together from where you are, from a lobbyist standpoint?
You know, it's almost become impossible, and that's why it's so important to have people that can work both sides of the aisle. I think that things have become so polarized. You're either a strong Democrat or a strong Republican, and they don't talk to each other enough as they used to when I was there. And that's why it's so important to have people who can work from the center out to form a coalition to create a majority. And that's the only way things can get done. If you only try to do it from the far left or the far right, you're not going to end up getting anything done. You're just going to blame each other for failure. And American people are tired of that. They want people to be able to work together.
Are you glad you're not in politics these days?
I said, let me think about it. No, I'm not unhappy. I'm glad. I've served for 34 years. I enjoyed every minute of it. We're still working in Washington, still doing things that are important for Louisiana, but I'm in the private sector now, practicing law. But, you know, we draw on that experience. I still work with the Congress. We work with Senator Landrieu's office on many of the things that she has been able to get done for the state. So we still have our fingers in it in a pretty substantial way.
How's your life better after getting out of politics?
I have more free time. I mean, I'm working just as hard. I work Monday through Friday. They said, how long are you going to work? I said, as long as I have children and now grandchildren. So, I mean, as long as I'm healthy, we're going to continue doing this. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
What's your biggest joy?
I think just getting up every morning and looking forward to the day. I mean, I enjoy working. I would be absolutely miserable if I just had to stay home and sit in a rocking chair. I mean, the challenge is getting out and looking for different things to do and different challenges to try and meet. I mean, I like that. I think most people that have that attitude live longer and are probably more healthy.
Most people in Washington have written a book. You thinking about it?
No, and I promise anybody who writes a book but me, I'll pay them not to write it.
But you have a lot of knowledge and experience that you can share.
Well, we share it, but I don't need to write a book. I know I'd rather do it in person.
Where do you see Washington in 10 years?
Hopefully a lot better. I think that it's going to take a couple of elections to change the attitudes. You know, if you think about the Congress, I mean, with the election of the Tea Party Republican Party has gotten much more conservative to the right. Mm-hmm. With the defeat of the so-called blue dog Democrats have gotten much more liberal. And so the two sides have gotten further apart. I think it's going to take some time and several elections before we start electing more centrists, more moderates. And I think in a democracy like ours, that's how we find solutions to the difficult problems, working from the center out until you reach a majority, and not from the far left or from the far right.
Senator John Burke, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Whitney. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate you.
Good luck to you.
Love having you here in my home.
Love to be here.
Thanks, and love having all of you in my home too. We're going to be back with much more Weekends with Whitney after this.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Raising Cane's, we believe in one love, quality chicken finger meals. But creating one love is no simple task. Everything has to be served hot and fresh. Not just hot. We use only 100% premium chicken tenderloins, guaranteeing a 0% chance of leftovers. We insist on the best ingredients for our fries, like potatoes. Well, we can keep talking quality, or you can just eat it. Raising Cane's, one love.
Give the gift of fine dining this holiday season. Wayne Stabler Companies is offering one card for four. Le Creole, The Little Village, Stab Steak and Seafood. 4 sizzling restaurants, one card.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Well, yesterday, the LSU campus was awash in purple and gold as the Alabama Crimson Tide came to town. Well, the 13th man on the field for LSU is always the fan. And part of that fan base, of course, is the Golden Band from Tigerland. They're bigger than the football field at 325 members strong. Well, this morning, you're going to get the rare opportunity to be a member of the band. You know, the day gets started as thousands, tens of thousands of LSU fans line the streets. And then the band does its traditional march down Victory Hill. Well, this morning, thanks to a GoPro camera and a willing tuba player, you get to be part of that number.
My name is Madison Booth. I'm a sophomore.
So what's the best part about walking down the hill?
I think running down the hill, that's like a challenge, but it's like really amazing that I have the skills to run down the hill, hold this horn, and play at the same time. I actually played piccolo in high school.
No way. Wow. So you're just musicals.
I switched to tuba because it's my favorite section of the whole band.
It's like, I've never done it, but when you're out on the field pregame.
I have to say it's the most amazing feeling of my whole entire life. Because when I was a little girl, I watched Tiger Band perform for the first time when I was really small, and I looked up to my dad. And I was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And then here I am. And like the first time I performed pregame, even though it wasn't a home game, I almost started crying because it's like, here I am. I did it.
For another fun experience with the Tiger Band, head to Tigerama. It's coming up this Wednesday at 7:30. For ticket information, head to my website, weekendswithwhitney.net. And stay with us. Coming up next, Dr. Nick tackles worrying. How he says cleansing our past will help heal our future of worries after this. This segment brought to you by our friends at Jerry Lane. Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney, everyone. Are you worried about something this morning? Well, most of us are worried about something, but what if that something has to do with something that happened way in the past? Dr. Nick joins us this morning to help us feel through that.
Good morning, Whitney.
Morning.
Good to be back and talking about worry. I think you opened it up with a great question, because a lot of our worry, when we think about it, comes from something that happened to us in the past. Some kind of wound, some kind of trauma, which could be an accident, something that happened to someone that we love, and that triggers us into, oh, what could happen?
I've never thought about it in those terms.
Whitney, not only am I a mental health counselor, but I'm a worrier. And I really do believe that every time I feel some kind of threat or some kind of concern for something that I say could happen, it's usually in the past. Coming out of the past, it's triggered. The phrases that I love to say to people is, if you're saying it could, it might, what if, you're probably into some negativity. You're probably into it could be bad, because you know it could be good.
True.
That's right.
True.
But we typically think of, well, what if? So, you know, I could ask you, are you threatened right now?
No.
Well, I could ask you, you're threatened. Good. You know what people would say?
What?
You know what many people would say? Well, the roof could fall in.
Oh.
The sofa could fall in. And I'm like, is that really an imminent threat? You hear how we kind of bring it back to today? Is anything really hurting me right now? Am I not somewhat safe?
Sure.
Now, I know there are people hurting and suffering and are not safe. I'm very clear about that. But we're talking to the average American that just worries.
Sure. Worried that their kids would be in an accident. Worried if their kids are going to get sick. Worried if they're going to get sick.
Right. How am I going to deal with health care? What's going to happen to me when I get old?
What about ISIS? Oh, are they coming to get us?
What about ISIS and Ebola?
Right.
I mean,
and statistically, those are irrational fears.
They really are, and that's a good way of putting it. I hate to get so much into the rational versus the irrational, but it really is irrational. That doesn't mean that there's not a charge, because again, the charge is from the past. And so where do we need to do the work? In the past.
That's so
interesting.
interesting.
And it's healing the past.
Because I would think we worry about what's coming tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen with our jobs. But you say go way back.
Well, go way back in the sense of trying to take that dirty laundry and washing it.
Yes.
And cleansing it and transforming it and saying, that's not who I am now. That's not what life is right now. That was then when I fell off the bike. That was then when I was, if someone says I was abused by someone, I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying that it's got to be resolved so that we can take the now into the future and have a sense of trust. I mean, Erik Erikson's #1 stage of development was a sense of trust that all is well in the world.
But I have an important question. When you said that people need to work through their past, obviously they haven't been able to do it because they're still working through it. If they can't afford a mental health professional, is there one book you would recommend, or is there one place they should go? What do they do?
I think probably the best resource would be the United Way. I think they're 211
An info line, right?
And it's an info line, and they can talk. But you know, at the risk of making it simplistic, journaling, telling the story to someone who's a trusted friend, and having that trusted friend tell the story back so that they hear it.
Oh, interesting.
And because again, you're wanting some healing. It's not that you want to go and redig and dig forever. We want to move forward. But sometimes we can really kind of unleash it. And then what we do is when we start worrying, we're like, oh, I'm going back to when I was 15. Do you hear the connection?
I do.
It's not major therapy. It's like, that was a milestone in my life, and that's what triggers it. That's what triggers it.
But is there one book, Nikki? You've read so many. Is there one book that can really help people work through the past?
I can think of many great books, but the one that comes to mind is just coming out very soon, called I'm Limping Very Well, Thank You. It's my new book that's coming out very soon, and I'm telling you, it's a great book.
Well, great, Nikki. Always a pleasure to sit down, and you'll let us know when the book comes out,
I
right?
will.
It's close, right?
Very close.
Okay, great. Stay with us. Much more of Weekends with Whitney right after this.
You can count on Jerry Lane.
I'm driving all day long, so I need a car that I can rely on in a dealership I can trust.
And that's Jerry Lane.
It's always been Jerry.
Their customer service is outstanding.
Get in the lane, get in the lane, get in the lane.
Jerry Lane keeps me and my family rolling.
Always lead to. You can count on Jerry Lane.
This segment brought to you by our friends at Wayne Stabler Companies. Thanks so much for starting this beautiful Sunday with me. And I invite you to come back next Sunday. You just have to be here because we are going to have a magnificent show. We're headed to the coast. We're casting for redfish with Lieutenant Governor Jay Darden as we tackle the problems of coastal erosion. I'll take you to the town of Leeville that's literally sinking. Entire graveyards are now underwater. There's only one tree left in the entire town. How some folks are rallying to save it. But is it too late? And I'll take you shrimping and find out what's really going on with this year's catch and the lingering effects of the BP oil spill on the shrimp and the shrimpers. Plus, the oyster industry has been ravaged by the BP spill. I'll take you to world-class, state-of-the-art oyster breeding grounds that could change the face of the entire oyster industry. So you just have to join me for next week's show or set your DVR because it's really fantastic. In fact, I'm going to give you some sneak peeks throughout the week on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my website, weekendswithwhitney.net. But this morning, we leave you with not white pelicans, but brown pelicans that we found along the Louisiana coast. They are just magnificent birds as well. And we have a few other surprises we found down there. Have a great week, everybody. Hope to see you back here next week.